I'm Kate Ward, and this is your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. And we want to bring in the tropicals. What? Say what? It's September, and it is time to start thinking about those plants that you put in your containers that just made it wow and over the top, that don't want to get frosted or get cold, but you want to save to enjoy them as a house plant. So I have a container here that has just one of those plants. This is a mandevilla, and mandevillas are fantastic. They climb and wander and actually make a pretty nice house plant, but they do not tolerate cold. As a matter of fact, they throw hissy fits. We're going to drop our leaves and be ugly. So before we change all sorts of things like the humidity, the lighting, and have to pull them out of the ground, we're going to do that early. And while we're at it, we're just going to change over our containers for fall. So now is the time you want to do that. Well, what do? Well, you could choose to keep a couple of things in here if you wanted to, because we really want to make sure we save the root system of this. But say I really like this red for my fall container. So I'm going to kind of dig in here and see, and you can see where the old plants were. We get in here, boy, it's not beautiful, but that's okay. I don't think this is doing a ton for me, so yep, I'm just gonna, out, I don't want to keep it. Same thing, I kind of do like this variegation, so I'm gonna see if I'm gonna leave that for now. But here's where I could get my trusty trowel, and I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna find the edge of where that plant is. All right, I'm gonna give it sort of a root zone. You can see how I'm cutting that. Now this particular plant was planted on the edge, so because it was planted on the edge, that's gonna create my other edge. So I'm down underneath it, I give it a wiggle, and I pull up, and wingo bingo, there I am. So now I have my plant. Well, what do I do with it? Well, I have to transplant it, but let's not be done with this yet. We're just gonna put this off to the side. So what do I transplant it into? Well, generally, a pot that's just a little bit bigger than my root ball. So that kind of works nicely for it. Now I'd use this kind of container if I had a pot that maybe I wanted to drop in, so I have a pretty decorative pot, but if I want to move this out maybe next spring, I just want to drop it in so I can move it back out again. If I want it to be more permanent, I could plant into something like this, or something like this self-watering pot. That's nice because in the house, you can see where the water level is and if it needs it. But for ease, and say we're gonna plant it in something like this. So I have my potting mix, put it in there till I feel that it's gonna be, because see I have to bring it up a little bit, maybe an inch. So I put about an inch in the bottom of this particular one, because that's how much root system I had. I'm gonna set it right in there, and then I'm gonna fill around the edges. Kate, that's not filling around the edges, that's blatant spilling, I know, but you're gonna do this, because I need to press it down so that I get that soil, I get all the air pockets pressed out of there. And you can see all that entire whole scoop full of soil has disappeared. So I have this, I get rid of those, I don't need to bury leaves. And I just keep filling up till I get to the soil level that was consistent with when it was in there. And then I'm done with it. I'd water it in and I'd move it in the house. Now, depending on where your container was outside, if it was full sun, I'd probably need to put this plant that liked full sun in a south or a west window. And I'd want to do that and get these guys moved in before I have to turn on the house heat. Why? Because when we move in, we change the light condition. It's lower light quality, so we want to get it used to that before we change the humidity. When we turn our heat on, humidity levels drop. So we're trying to change as few things as possible and also avoiding frost. Now, so we have that kit inside. Well, what do we have with this? I still have a pot. It was obviously living outside somewhere, and I really like this plant. It's a good color for fall. Well, then let's add some things to it. So you could add, believe it or not, something like this perennial that's gonna take that fall frost and still be beautiful. Well, that's not a ton of color, Kate, but it gives us texture. We could add little pansies in there, just as like an accent here and there, and they'll grow up, and they actually don't mind the frost either. They like those cool temperatures. And if we're done with them at the end of the season, we want to put a container away, these could go in the ground. Say I don't want to keep it. Real quick, we're almost done. All right, thanks. I'm gonna change out. Well, I still have the soil. I would loosen up the bottom. I still like you. And maybe we'll just completely change it out. We'll add something like this ornamental cabbage. Yeah, I know it's big. Some more room over there. Just so don't make a big mess. Just put it over there. Put him in there. Well, that thing's huge, Kate. I know, but I just love them. They're really cool. That is called kale. It's a flowering kale. and it's called Peacock. And you can kind of guess why, because it looks like it has feathers. And maybe I put my pansy in here, and I'm doing purples. You know, I really like purple. Reminds me of Halloween and later season and those cool temperatures. Not everything has to be orange, but you know, if you need a little pop, want a little bit of a thriller there, yeah, let's add it in there. Give me a little more color. So you can very see how quickly it is. Hey, we all love mums. We grow them here at Dickman Farms, lots and lots and lots of them, so enjoy them. This one wants to live in its pot. So pretend I knocked it out, and then maybe I would finish this container by putting that in there. Just shows you how fast, how easy it is to rework your containers while you're in the right time frame to save those beautiful tropical plants to adorn the house. So this has been your Dickman Farms Smart Gardening Tip. Until we see you again, have a great gardening day.